You are now tuned in to Code Red.
Gangsta, 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 gangsta.
It's Duro music.
It's a lot of ways to paper chase around my city, around my city, around my city. Sales hustle in a major way around my city, around my city, around my city. Way to pay the trace around my city, around my city, around my city. Get your face.
Nick Gonzalez, 18 and 10. I'm fighting out of Austin, Texas.
All right. So how long have you been a professional fighter?
Since 2002, so that is 10 years now.
And so, what initially got you into MMA?
Just probably like everybody else that saw the UFC like way back in the day, from the old school, videos that you could rent at Blockbuster. Just was addicted to it, and at that time I was wrestling in high school, and of course all the wrestlers and grapplers always did the best, so I was like, oh yeah, I could do that, and I just had a knack for fighting. I used to fight a lot when I was younger. I kind of ran around the wrong crowds. That's actually how I ended up moving out of Austin to go live in South Texas, and fighting was nothing that I was ever really scared of or it didn't intimidate me. It was a way, to me, it was always a way to answer things, like if I had a problem with somebody or somebody said something, it was like, hey, what's up, boom, 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 we fought, Of course, then the wrestling kind of structured me a little bit, but just even watching the UFC back in the day, I was just like, that's something that interested me that I felt like I could do. And of course, back then there was no weight classes. I mean, this was like in '96, I think, '97. Then 2001, 2002, I actually walked into the Vasquez Academy gym, which is Rudy Vasquez's gym here in Austin. And I originally just wanted to go in to just do kickboxing, to learn kickboxing. And I think at that time, Texas had their second extreme fighting event, is what they called it back then. And then I was on the third one 6 months later. I turned pro and just never really looked back. It kind of gave me something to work towards at the time. I went away for a little while, did some time. So when I got out, I went to Rudy's gym about a year later. I was on, I did some time and I got out. I was on probation still for 8 years. So when I started training and fighting, it kind of gave me something to work towards, and it kind of kept my head structured and focused on something positive, rather than falling back and hanging out with my homies, doing the same old bullshit, and then revoking my probation. I continued to fight. I mean, I remember, fighting. I was able to go out of town and do these fights, winning my first title, and just, how accomplished it made me feel. Like no matter what city I fought in or where I fought, when I got my hand raised after I won a fight, I mean, I felt like I was above, the Travis County judicial system, my probation officers, the judges, the cops. I mean, I almost felt, immortal at that time. Like I was above anything negative that I had been a part of. It was almost like an addiction to me, and I just continued to run with it. And that really, I think, just kind of saved my life in a way. People say that a lot, because fighters generally come from hard places. I don't think any fighter really, every fighter has a story, so each one is different. I don't think anybody really has something soft and sweet, like, oh yeah, I just did it for fun. Like, there's usually something that's driving them, and that's what was driving me. I was also a father to a newborn baby, and just wanted to structure something and make something of my life. Yeah, I mean, the MMA originally just started with me at Rudy's gym at the Vasquez Academy, and I remember one of our first seminars we went out and did. We went to Utah to go to Pedro Sauer's seminar, and Pedro Sauer's in Salt Lake City, and I had never been really outside of Texas at that time, so I was really excited about that. I've been able to, we went up to New York, because then we became Renzo Gracie affiliates, so we went to New York City, and then just kind of started doing other things as far as fighting. Then I became a professional boxer and kickboxer. In the boxing, we would travel, we would go to other cities like San Antonio, Houston, and get some sparring in with these old world-class boxers. The famous Zara Zamora Street Gym down in San Antonio, which is Tony Ayala's gym. We'd go down there, do some sparring, and I boxed on some cards, and would just meet guys like Jesse James Leija, Jesus Chavez, Anicia Zamarone, world champion. So we'd run into those people like that. And then kickboxing, I ended up going to K1 in Japan in 2006. I was able to fight Chuck Norris's World Combat League as a Texas representative, the Texas team. And then the MMA just kind of continued. I went to Dallas. I was at Guy Mesger's gym for a while. Then I actually got signed to a management company in 2009, and they had like everybody under the radar that was in the UFC at that time, you could think. One of their guys that they had was Dominic Cruz. This was before UFC or WC championship. Went out there to do two little mini camps for myself. And on the second one, Coach Eric was like, hey, Dominic's got a fight with Brian Bowles. We would like to bring you out for sparring. We could fly you out, help you out a little bit, give you a place to stay. Would you be interested? And I was all about it. I mean, like I said, at that time they had everybody under their radar, in the UFC, big name guys. And to me, that was just like, oh shit, Brandon Vera's here, Dominic Cruz, there's Jason Lambert, Joey Beltran, and Toby Amata. It's just like, for me being in Austin, I never really had a big team or anything like that. It was always just kind of me and Rudy doing our thing, and I never really had a big camp or big, crew of guys to train with. It was just me, but I was just so hungry and driven that it didn't matter. I went out and fought and beat people. I remember one of my fights in the FFC where I ended up winning a featherweight title. My first fight was with this guy, I forgot his name, but he trained with George Gurgel and Rich Franklin. It's really funny because if you look at the pictures, I'm like whipping his ass. You could see like George Gurgel and Rich Franklin like cornering him. I mean, I know the fuck they were. Then you find out like who they are. You're like, oh man, I kicked one of their guys' ass, But there I am with just me and my trainer Rudy Vasquez. Like we're nobodies, but I go out there and I TKO the guy in the first round. So when I was able to be around the Alliance camp and at Blackline Training Center in San Diego, I think it really just kind of started patching some things together for me to help me be more of a complete fighter. The team structure is still a little disorganized. I would say that because it is. There's I think Dallas and Houston are probably the first two that I would say that they're kind of following the remedy of what has made California guys successful. Is like they're making camps of good fighters, and there's no egos. Other guys teach at other schools, and there's no like, you train here, you can't go over there, or you're a jiu-jitsu guy here, you can't train there. It's about cross-training and progressing, and right now I'm trying to really push that here. Right now I'm with Rudy still, Rudy Vasquez. I train at the Fit Pit Boxing Gym in Paragon Jiu-Jitsu. And Paragon, I think, is really Robert Dembeck, one of the guys, the brown belt here. He's been around as well, been to some other places, and he's kind of listened to what I'm saying, and that I think if we can open the doors and just almost form like an alliance of what Alliance did in San Diego, where you got good people cross-training with each other, you're only going to make everybody better, rather than we're on this side of town, we don't go over there, or we don't go up there because we're Paragon guys. That's what I think it hurts people in the end, because you get to train with other fighters, other people that are hungry and good fighters. That's what you need, to train with other good people, good solid fighters. I'm fighting September 22nd in Fort Worth at LaGrave Stadium. My opponent is Brokeback Chaz Skelly. He's 9-0. Scrappy guy, wrestler. Seen one, he's seen them all. Pretty confident I'll put him away within 2 rounds. Knockout, something big like that. He's been around. He's got a good camp. Again, he's up there with the team takedown guys. I don't doubt his abilities in wrestling and stuff. I just think, he's had a good run. I just really am more motivated about being the first person to beat him, rather than, it doesn't matter if the UFC scouting him or who he trains with. For me, I'm driven more by stopping an undefeated fighter. It doesn't matter whether it's Chaz or anybody. It's just that, to me, is more exciting. I've done it before. To fulfill yourself and being the first person to stop an undefeated fighter, I think, is more satisfying than who it is. It's just that you did it. Like, I'm pretty sure whoever beats, John Jones is probably gonna just, that'd be the biggest accomplishment of his life. He may never do anything else, but he stopped John Jones, or whoever beats Floyd Mayweather. It's like, or George St. Pierre now. It's like you want to see how they did it and who did it, and that's really what's driving me right now for this fight.
Well, I guess in closing, is there anyone you'd like to thank? Anyone, shout outs, any kind of sponsors, things of that nature? Absolutely not. I've done everything by myself, so don't need to thank anybody. No, I'm just kidding. We're definitely here, the guys at Paragon, they've brought me in. I teach kickboxing here, and brought me in. I've been here over a year. Definitely thank these guys here, Robert, Darren, CJ, Jose, Derek, all the high-level guys that are rolling with me, my students in kickboxing classes, my trainer Rudy Vasquez, who I've been with since day one, everybody over at the Fit Pit, and Matt Rossini, all those guys up in Dallas, they have, helped me out. And just thank On It, my sponsors, for the Alpha Brain and the Shroom Tech. And the Hemp Forest Protein, which is really good.
I'm from the dirty South and I'm a soldier. Southside, soldier, Southside, soldier. episode.